have so many questions for you, Marcia. I wanted to start with Maggie. She's such a fascinating character, and I had the privilege of getting to interview Holland Taylor, and we talked about how the characters on the show are never sort of what they seem when you first meet them. And I think about the introduction of Maggie in season one, and I feel like so much has happened, and we get to peel back so many layers to her personality. And especially as a guest star, can you talk about sort of how each one of your appearances maybe gives us a little bit more, and what's that like for you as an actress to get to calibrate that?
That's a really great question. When we first met Maggie in season one, she was like a bloodhound, right? She was a dog with a bone and out to expose certain places where the scent of crime or the scent of collusion would lead you to a certain idea, and she would expose it to the American public. So when we first met Maggie, well, we have all that about the dog with the bone, and then the phone rang. But now by the last scene that I just had with Jennifer, she's kind of says, I'm not on the shame journey anymore, which I thought was interesting because through that arc, right, in the beginning, she's a dog with a bone to expose certain idiosyncrasies or collusions that would lead us to a conclusion. That's not a shame journey, right? Exposing truth is not a shame journey. Along the way, because it was sexually oriented, exposing the relationship, um, it felt like she turned into wanting to shame, which was not really, I felt like the core of Maggie. I felt like she's about truth. I mean, certainly she wants to expose hypocrisy, and hypocrisy in and of itself is shameful. But along the way, that's where she kind of focused, regardless of the humanity of her relations with people. And by the end, she's kind of saying, it's not really where I am anymore. But she was trying to expose the downfall, I think, of network television and the downfall of and all the corporate takeovers. And it seemed like encourage Jen to be on her own, to try to make her own way in business and not be dependent on a guy. And that felt like a very friendly and women for women relationship by the end. And so for me, it was like my character wasn't in season three at all, except for that one scene. So it was almost like a redemption and a journey that Maggie was on, to saying, look, people can change. And I'm not trying to do what I was doing before, but I'm still about the truth. How is that as an actor, as a guest actor? I mean, sometimes it's kind of hard to navigate the twists and turns, right? Because they're doing they're doing the show continuously, and all of their characters are going on certain journeys, and then you come in with one function as a guest actor. And so it's a little bit tough, I think, at times to go, what exactly is my function for this story, which is how I always like to work. What is my function in the story right now? What do I need to do in order for this story to move forward? No, it's not about my character, but what do I need to do for the other characters? And that last scene was an interesting one because it felt, I don't know if it felt like to you, but it felt like a different kind of Maggie. So now I'm thinking, oh, are they going to put her in season four? What could she be doing in season four? That would be fun, because she's still on a journey for truth, but in a different way that I think more takes into being the person that she's interviewing, the person that she's investigating.
I mean, lots to ask you about, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you if you heard anything about season four. Have there anything you could tell us, or any
I
comment?
have not heard Shadan a single hint, so I have no idea.
Okay, well, I'll hold you to your word. We'll see if you show up in season four. I was like, Marcia didn't tell me. You know what I think is so interesting too is I think Maggie in a lot of ways maybe represents what Alex thinks she could have been in another light if she was a quote unquote more serious journalist, or, wasn't doing the morning show. What do you think of that side of their relationship? And again, that conversation in episode 9 is so pivotal of maybe a little bit more of them coming together.
Well, Maggie says, you're not going to stay here, are you? Working with Corey. And I felt like it was a, it was, I felt like that sentence, and I played it that way, was kind of full of judgment or kind of incredulity. And to me, that's what it seemed the function of the scene was, to let her know that she was powerful enough not to be. Did you see those balloons?
I did. I don't, is somebody having a birth? I don't know what. How,
No, it's because when we make our hand do certain things
oh,
or do something like that. Look, see, isn't that ridiculous? And Shadan, I don't know how to turn it off.
I
I
I
have
I
no idea.
don't.
I'll try not to talk with my hands because we might have balloons and confetti and all kinds of stuff happening on the screen.
Well, you deserve the
Yeah, I
balloon.
felt like that was the function in that scene, was to
Yeah.
say, you can do this on your own, and you probably should, because maybe you're not in a when it comes for us all, Maggie says, I hope we're on high ground. So I think she's kind of saying, take care of yourself and you don't need to depend on these systems that you're within. Think differently, think new, think differently.
And that's what's always been so interesting about Maggie as a character. She has the ability to sort of unnerve Alex a little bit and sort
Yeah.
of put her on her toes. Can you talk about that dynamic that you have with Jennifer and sort of playing that character on the show and having that presence on the show?
First of all, I have to say, working with Jennifer as Alex is such a treat. She's one of those actresses who always has this kind of humor, or an understanding of humor, because it's an understanding of humanity underneath every single thing that she does. I think she's literally one of our greatest comedians, in that she can be in a drama, but she finds this relatability that is just so specific to her, and it's so adorable. And even when she's like crying or angry, you're like, "Ah, can't help it. I adore you. I just adore you." And that's how, like, for me as an actress working with Jen, she's so effing generous, and uh, but she's honest, and she just has a clarity. You see the thoughts that the character's going through in her face, and I absolutely love it. Maggie was introduced as someone who tries to keep you on your, is it the back heel? Is that the saying? Keep you on your back foot. She is someone who presents herself as smarter than the average bear. I based her on a wonderful journalist, Maureen Dowd, who also was spoken about by the presidents as
Yeah.
your trouble, because she digs a little bit and isn't afraid to expose certain things and has a strength. And I felt like an incredible masculinity and an incredible femininity, both that Maggie had that. So she stands on her own 2 feet very solidly, but she's introduced as someone who, no matter what you say, she's like, uh-huh, really? Oh, is that really what you mean? Okay, okay. Sort of like, I want to say I was too cool for school, but it's an intelligent way of constantly questioning people's true motivations. And what are the true motivations? And so that's how she was introduced. And so I wanted to keep that for her toward the end, that there's still that I'm coming in under the guise of saying, hey, I just want to be friends. First of all, do I believe that for a minute? No, I don't believe it for a minute. And I would ask her, I was like, is she really just coming in because she just wants to like be like, hey, we're friends now? And then, yeah, that's sincere, I think. And I think, she's a reporter, she's a journalist. She always has an ulterior motive. What is her ulterior motive in this? And it seems to be kind of wanting to get information about Corey and wanting to get information about about Alex and the relationship, just to sort of know where the company's going. it did seem to be warning her a bit in a friendly way that we're not used to. But that's why I keep thinking maybe there's a little spot in season 4 because whatever her motives were, I think would show up in season 4.
Mhm. And I think it could be a little bit of everything, right? I think that's what's so fascinating about this show is you can't really pigeonhole somebody as a villain or friend or foe, right?
I don't think you can do that in any show or should do that on some level unless it's like a Marvel or one of those where evil and good are so completely delineated, that you have to show it that way. In fact, I think that is what's interesting is that you don't quite know, and so the audience has to make their own decisions based on what kind of things they relate to in their own life. Even the news, you can say, is the news a friend or foe? Is the news telling you the truth or not? Is the news schismed to encourage us to believe one way or another? So when you feel like someone in the news is being 100% true, what is that experience like?
Mm.
Maggie's looking at it from the outside. Maggie's reporting on the business of it and on the business machinations and business relationships and basically the hypocrisy. So her real focus was, I think, in season 1 with the sexual misdemeanors and the behaviors and the Me Too of it all. That was really when you understood exactly what she was doing. And then the second year was the demise of the company. And season 3 is that one scene was about going, move up, move on, have a different world. That's why I think it would come to play, if she plays at all in season 4, the genesis or the end of what her function was in that scene would show later, which is a little bit weird for actors. You go, I'm doing this thing now, but I won't know how it spins off until later, and I might not even be there. But
I thought a lot about in preparation of our interview. Obviously, I come from a journalism background, so I thought a lot about my relationship to journalism and how the show challenges that and maybe what things are true about what we see on the show, obviously what's exaggerated for television. And I wonder just as a consumer and then as an actor who has to do interviews all the time and has your own relationship to the press, has that changed or challenged you in any way and made you think about sort of the inner machinations of this business that we're all in one way or another?
no, that's a good question. I think that question exposes me as someone who has kind of stopped paying so much attention to the press. I never was about the press in terms of tabloids or finding out, which actor is sleeping with which, like all that. I give a shit about it. I don't care. So I'm sort of pop culture illiterate because I don't read about it. And then in terms of watching the news, there was a time several years ago when I used to kind of watch it religiously, but I feel like it's so schismed right now between which company is, whether it's Fox or CBS or CNN or NBC, like it's so schismed with opinions that you can get completely different news reports depending on what you're watching, which invalidates all of it. So unless you're doing like maybe the BBC or something, like you're really, or reading The Guardian, it feels like it's harder to cull the truth from any one source. So if you're really interested, you have to read many, many sources. And, now people get their news from Instagram and Twitter or X or whatever. And all of that feels again very schismed to me. So somehow you have to put your feelers out in a much more personal way to search for a variety of opinions, a variety of reports, a variety of accounts of any situation to come to your own understanding, which doesn't quite feel uh, right on some level, although it probably is more right, but it doesn't feel right because I grew up in the day of like, Bill Moyers and Dan Rather and, even honey, yes, we're going to say it. I remember Walter Cronkite. So I know you're going to fall off your chair, but there's a sense of wanting to be told societally, I suppose, of what to, as a child, of what to think. Is this right? Is this true? The Judge Judy of it all. Is this true? But is it true? Is this right? What should I think? What should I? And as an adult in this day and age, I lose that sense. I mean, it's a lazy desire, but I have to replace it with you go out and you find your own and investigate your own, which means searching not just the internet, but other sources, which is also exhausting. But when it's a subject that's really meaningful, that's that's where I go.
I think you're absolutely right. Marcia, as I let you go, is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you wanted to touch on? I want to make sure you have the last word.
Oh, Shadan, thank you. I just want to know your first name. What does it mean?
Oh, it's Persian. It actually means happiness. So,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Is
thank
it what we would then say Cheryl, or the as the Shah? Do we have any similar?
I don't think so. No, Shadan. Yeah, it's very
Shadan,
Persian. I
Shadan.
don't think we have a. I wish we did. It would make my life easier if I had
Yeah.
if I
Do you
had a
say Shadan?
Yeah.
It's quite beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so lovely to meet you. And you say you're pop culture illiterate, but you're very beloved in all spheres. Rest easy. So it's such a treat to get to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And good luck in September. Hopefully, we'll get to talk again for season 4.
Thank you.